the citizens. Consequently, understanding the relationship between religion, politics, sustainable peace and development in Nigerian country. So therefore, this study examines how the politicization of religion contributes to the conflict and instability in Nigeria. So as we know, Nigeria is a multi-ethnic and multi-religious nation where religions play a significant role in social and political life. So the interaction between religion and politics has also shaped the development of Nigeria from the independence of the country. So political leaders often exploit religious identities to gain support in order to consolidate their power, and this has really present religion in a very bad view. Now, the study addresses some problems, and these are the problems: increasing religious conflict in Nigeria, political manipulation of religious identities is another problem. Then this has also led to the weak state institutions in Nigeria as well. Then religion extremism and violence, threat to national unity and development. So the objectives of this paper is to examine the politicization of religion in Nigeria. That's number one. To investigate the role of weak institutions in conflict escalation in Nigeria, analyze religious extremism and insecurity as we have it in Nigeria today, then assess the effect of the religious conflict on national development, and also to suggest the pathway to the peace and social transformation. So that's what the paper aimed at achieving. Now, the methodology that was used in this paper is qualitative research. So, and the sources of data, journal articles, books, official reports, government publications, and internet source. So, and we will do a content analysis and critical analysis. So now let's take it one after the other. The weak institution and the Nigerian states. So when we are talking about the weak institution, we know that institutions are vital components of any political society, as they represent the system that create rules and structure to guide the human behavior or the behaviors of the citizen, ensuring that every individual act in ways that promote social interactions, order, cooperation, and also economic growth. That is what we mean by institution, and which Nigeria also have. However, in societies that are culturally plural and religiously fragmented, such as Nigeria, the effectiveness of the government is often measured by its ability to construct an institutional framework that fosters peaceful coexistence among its diverse population, among its diverse citizens. So the government capacity is to manage the diversity through representative governance, a fair and impartial judicial system, and an efficient law enforcement agency is very, very crucial if we are going to have a strong institution in Nigeria. So, and that is, but in Nigeria, we discovered that we don't really have this strong institution. What we have in Nigeria today, as of today, is a weak institution. So, however, complex agent principal problem, rent seeking, corruption, violence, inequality, of income and wealth, ethnic diversity, and ethnic and religious conflict have been identified as an important factors that weakens the Nigeria institution and create serious governance problems with untold hardship for the citizen. There is no nation of the world, that can enjoy lasting, harmonious, and peaceful coexistence, as well as continuous development of its citizens that live in constant or inconsistent social conflict as we have it in Nigeria. And this has been a serious problem for the Nigeria nation. Unfortunately, that is the condition of Nigeria. According to Farola, the Nigerian state as it is constituted, especially in our fourth republic, so depict a picture typical of a failed state in terms of its institution, I mean, that is institutional framework and central regulative capacity, as corroborated by Onuoha. This condition is because despite over 6 decades of our independence, over 6 decades of our political independence, the country is still stickering here and there in search of legitimacy and loyalty from its citizens in the midst of serious threats of secession, separatism, and insurgency, as we can see in the Nigerian state. In a critical examination, Nigerian state, Adetunji and Ibrahim, they reiterate the importance and relevance of strong institutions as a catalyst to sustainable growth, development, and peaceful coexistence. It is when we have a very strong institution that we can experience a sustainable growth in Nigeria, development, and peaceful coexistence among the various ethnic groups and religious affiliation. But revealed that the country institution over the years have become weak and ineffective as a result of myriads of problems confronting the polity of Nigerian state. So some of the factors that are responsible for the weak institution in Nigeria, as identified by Adetunji and Ibrahim, include the lack of genuine commitment, that is from the part of the Nigerian leaders towards democratic ideas and principles. Then the docile nature of the institution, the duplication of government agencies and others has been the major factor that are responsible for the weak institution that we have in Nigeria as at today. So Nigerian institutions are also viewed as weak. They fail to build basic and a very critical infrastructure stable for modern development. So no doubt the Nigerian state is presently faced with challenges of dismantling the existing social, economic, political, and administrative institution for new one in accordance with the global best practice. So because of the weak institution. Now, it is this weak institution that has also led to the escalation of religious violence in Nigeria. Because if we have a very strong institution, then they will have been able to curb all these menace, these insurgents here and there, this issue of banditry. They will have been able to curb it. But because of the issue of the politicization of religion, so the Nigerian institution have been weakened because of this factor that has been highlighted in this paper. So the escalation of Nigeria, so it appears that the Nigeria is now displaying the symptom of disintegrating states. whose members are now permanently at war with one another, because of the high level of inter-ethnic and inter-religious hostility that is in Nigeria. So as a result, the global community is very, very concerned about the ongoing ethno-religious tensions in Nigeria. So there is ethno-religious tension in Nigeria. Nigeria has spread a wide range of ethno-religious conflict before its current the democratic experiment began. So these crises include, among some others, one, the Yemeta Yola religious disturbance around 1984. That's one of the escalation of religion. Then the Sango Kataf crisis in Kaduna State, and the Maitansin religious disturbance in section of Kano and Maiduguri, that happened around 1980 to 1985. There are some other incidents that include the Muslim Christian riot at Kavancha College of Education, and that happened around 1981 to 1982. So these are the issues of religious conflict, religious escalation in Nigeria that has really affected the social development of this country. Now, the scourge of ethno-religious strife in Nigeria has nevertheless escalated with emergence of Fourth Republic due to freedom offered by democratic governors. So ethno-religious conflict have increased in frequency with the advent of democracy. So it has increased with the advent of democracy. Then the Maitansin crisis, that one erupted in the northern part of the Nigeria, and it happened around 1980 and persisted until 1985. So there are a lot of Nigerian troops, so they tried to end this menace, but they were not able to curb it. So the man called Mohammed Mawa Matasin was the one that is responsible for this kind of religious violence in Kano, and about almost 4,177 civilians were killed, 100 police, 30 military personnel, they were killed, and this man was spreading his own objective in Kano, that is his own religious ideology that served as a threat even to the unity of the Nigerian state. So these are the religious conflicts. So we cannot say all this happened suddenly. All this religious escalation that we have in the past, we cannot say that they just happened suddenly. So people came with strange ideology, but the government kept quiet. They kept quiet about it. They didn't take any serious action. So it is the quietness of the government that now became the strength. Those guys that are spreading this religious ideology that serve as a threat to the unity and the security of Nigeria. So can we now say or deny the quietness we all observed before the emergence of Boko Haram as well? We also know Boko Haram insurgents has become difficult to solve in Nigeria. In fact, this has now metamorphosed to what we have today as the banditry in Nigeria. That's another problem that the Nigeria state is facing, and all these are born out of the religious intolerance and religious violence and conflict in Nigeria. So now the extremism is another factor that also aided the religious conflict in Nigeria. Extremism. The word extremism generates an instant notion of violence, negativity, and rejection by an individual or a group of people. According to Andrzej Sotla, who defines extremism as, extremism says that it connotes those activities that are morally ideologically and politically in accordance, that are not morally, ideologically, and politically in accordance with the written law, the legal code of the country, of the state, and some other non-written norms of the state, that are fully intolerant towards others and reject democracy as a means of governance and the way of solving problems, and finally that reject the existing order of the state. That is what Aldrich Sotler defined extremism to be. So in his own view, he said his extremism, his definition has been so well received among the religious field. So according to Bocha, who opines that extremists are largely an anti-democratic movement, anti-human rights movement, and anti-constitutionalism, radicalism is more acceptable to the extremists. They believe in radicalism. So because that is what also led to the escalation of religious conflict in Nigeria. So extremists are actively engaged in provocative statement or speech, and they are too aggressive against the establishment and rejected totally to coexist with the mainstream society. So they just want to impose their own ideology, and they want people to accept it. They don't want to know how they feel it or how they look at that kind of their ideology. So in some instances, these religious belief systems are exploited to favor a group of individuals as a justification for their extremist views and some of their actions in the society. Unfortunately, the Islamic religious belief system has been exploited as such by many groups and individuals across the world, which perhaps explain the growing number of extremists that we have, that now rely on their biased explanation of Islam to perpetrate some of their evils deeds. And then therefore understanding religious extremism is germane to this paper, because if you don't understand what extremism it means, you will not really understand the source of some of the problems that the Nigerian is going through. And the religion of Islam has been exploited to perpetrate this crime. So religious extremists seek to expand their religious laws, their religious ideologies, irrespective of how the people who hold contrary views to their own ideology, irrespective of how they feel about it, or the antagonists, how they feel about it, they just want to establish their own ideology, their own religious ideology. So according to Karim Mohammed, who also concurred that religious extremists support propaganda and they contradict and antagonize the ideas of other religious views. They don't want to buy the ideas of other religions. They don't want to believe in it. They just want to establish their own. So in Nigeria, the situation is not different at all in our country today. So the Nigerian country has been divided along religious lines. So with Muslims dominating the northern part, whilst Christians are the majority in the southern part of the country. So the religion that has more links to religious extremism in the country is Islam, with Boko Haram recognized as a terrorist organization, and that their existence from the teachings and the tenet of the Islamic religion. So excuse me. Thank you. Now, when we consider the impact of Boko Haram on freedom in Nigeria since their emergence from year 2009, So, according to a professor of rural development, Professor and some of his colleagues at Modibo Adama University in Nigeria, they said that activities of Boko Haram insurgency have led to the loss of about 38,683 lives. 2.5 million people have been displaced. 242,000 children made to drop out of schools. Thank you. Made drop out of schools. So now let's now look at the effects of politicization of religious and religious conflict in Nigeria. So politicization of religion in Nigeria involves manipulation of faith to mobilize political support, to have access to resources, and also to win an election. So this intersection of church, mosque, and state continually polarizes the country and often sidelining competency in favor of ethno-religious identity and frequently exacerbating communal and sectarian violence. And when during the time of election, you see some of these politicians, they will be going to some of the religious places in order to canvass, in order to do what? To manipulate people to vote them. And after they get the power, so they turn their back the society. So I think the Nigerian citizens need to wake up this time around. So Nigerian constitution declares our state as secular state, strictly prohibiting the government from adopting any religion as a state religion. But however, this boundary is frequently tested. So the most notable example is the implementation of Sharia. How will the Nigerian government allow it? How can we reconcile that? And this is an hypocrisy that the government also is involved in. So, and this issue of Sharia law has been an issue, even it constituted to the religious escalation in Nigeria, because it was in the governor of I think Zamfara State, Yerima, that first put that Sharia law into this. So before the governor of Kaduna State also did it. And Kaduna State happened to be both Muslims and Christian state. In fact, so they have majority of Christian in Kaduna State. So this now led to a serious religious clash between Muslims and Christians. So the rhetoric of Nigeria division is often used by political elites to secure local bases or divert attention from poor economic performance and corruption. They use it to divert attention of people. So this deliberate weaponization of religion of religion has historically degenerated into devastating communal violence, riots, and the rise of extremism in various parts of the country. Because of my time, let me go to what we have discovered. Now, from this study, the study has discovered that religion is often manipulated for political gains. That they always use religion to manipulate people for political gains. Then we are also discovered that weak institution also contributed to the religious conflict escalation in Nigeria. It also led to the religious extremism that threatens the national unity and national security. Also, ethno-religious conflict in the development and national cohesion is so difficult in Nigeria today because of the way the politicians has manipulated religion. So, and then the pathway to peace and justice, the possible solution is that we need to promote an interfaith dialogue on this matter, and interfaith dialogue. Then we need to strengthen the democratic institution, like the institution of the state, like the Air Force, the Army, the police. So they need to be strengthened and make provision for them in order to be able to curb this issue of banditry, Boko Haram, and insecurity in Nigeria. Then we also need to promote religious tolerance and coexistence. We need to promote religious tolerance and coexistence. And finally, I want to say this. In an unstable environment, the populace and the leaders are preoccupied with pursuing their own selfish goals and stealing. But instead of giving people, or giving power to people because of their religious affiliation or their ethnic affiliation, it's better that we neglect that and base giving power to people or voting people into power should be on competence and being a citizen of Nigeria, not because he belongs to this ethnic group or because he belongs to this religion. But when we see either Muslim or Christian, so the Nigerian populace need to vote for competence, not religious ideology or ethnic bias. But we need to vote for competence. I believe that if we can do this, I think there is going to be a solution to the issue of politicization of religion in the Nigerian state. Thank you for your time, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir, Dr. Adekola, for that wonderful presentation. Without much ado, we're going through the second lecture. Please, we can give him a round of applause for that wonderful work. He has been able to break in pieces things and give us understanding better on politicization of Nigeria and conflicts in Nigeria. There will be a little adjustment to this program. So the next lecture that will be coming up will be still under religion, politics, and society. And the next person that will be speaking on the blasphemy laws and religious violence in northern Nigeria. Sorry, excuse me. The next speaker is a Nigerian of Osun State origin. Ben Oyebanji is a legal practitioner and consultant. He is a member of Nigeria Bar Association, the Institute of Chartered Mediator and Conciliator, the Nigerian Institute of Management, and the Institute of Strategic Management of Nigeria. He is a versatile speaker, teacher, and preacher across multiple interdenominational leadership platforms and various domains of pastoral leadership. Ben Oyebanji is an alumnus of prestigious Obafemi Awolowo University of Ile-Ife, where he consecutively bagged a Bachelor of Arts in English and also Bachelor of Law. A seasoned author of many compelling and impactful books, he is a notable voice and figure in the area of leadership, capacity building, and marriage and relationship, coupled with his legal specialty in alternative dispute resolution. Ben Oyebanji is a lead pastor of Revival Chapel, a youth-driven model assembly of Christ Apostolic Church in the heart of Lagos. He is the district superintendent of CAC Revival Chapel District, with thriving assemblies under his leadership. Over the years, he has remained committed to this vision, raising a new generation of young people with genuine passion for God, breaking down the walls of tradition to attain all-round success in life without breaking the rules. He currently pursues Master in Theology with specialties in Old Testament at CACTS Idimu, Lagos campus. Join me as a welcome a learned fellow, Pastor Ben Oyebanji. You are welcome, sir.
Good morning. Amen. Good morning. I believe we are getting blessed in these paper presentations. And before I proceed, I would like to say thank you to our fathers who gave me this privilege to stand before my colleagues. It's a real privilege, and I will not take it for granted. And I pray that more grace and more strength, sir. Thank you so much. And all our lecturers, I want to say good morning to you. The Lord bless you in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, I have 30 minutes, and if my lecturer can be put to time, so who am I not to honor the time? Before me today is under the broad theme of religion conflicts and social transformation in contemporary Nigeria. What we are seeking is the pathway to peace, justice, and healing. But in my own session, I'll be taking blasphemy laws and religious violence in Nigeria, human rights abuses, legal pluralism, and community vigilantism. I trust God that God is going to help us to do justice. Really, I want to let you know, as my starter, that the blasphemy law in Nigeria occupy a deep considered space where Islamic jurisprudence, colonial legal inheritance, constitutional guarantees, and communal identity policies coverage with frequently later result. Now, this paper that I'm presenting this morning examines 3 interlocking dimensions, and I want you to listen to me, that is breeding a lot of crisis. Number 1, it analyzes how blasphemy accusations have generated systemic human rights abuses, including extrajudicial mob violence, unlawful detention, and death sentence incompatible with international human rights norms. Secondly, it interrogates the architecture of legal pluralism that makes such abuses structurally possible, tracing the collision between Sharia penal codes adopted across 12 northern states in Nigeria in 1999. Our lecturer who gave the first lecture was trying to unravel why in a secular state we are adopting Sharia. I would like to tell you that I'm a CSC boy, so I can tell you practically that Ogun Ipinle Lonja Nigeria, what do I call it? Ogun Ipinle, just in our own vocal, our Yoruba language. Yeah, it is an abnormality that has been enshrined into Nigerian law architecture from the foundation since the days of the colonial master. It's a fraud, and it must be readjusted. But that is just trying to move ahead my note. When you look properly, the third stand of my presentation this morning is the role of community vigilante groups in operationalizing religious violence outside formal legal channels. Name it, anything. What do you call it? The one they have in the north, call it Iruekun, call it Amotekun. They are all illegal and they are not known to law. But somehow they are finding their way into the already convoluted and complex legal structure that we have in Nigeria, that is creating confusion and that may likely keep creating more confusion. So we are going to examine that, and at the same time we will see how we can reconcile. As I go ahead in this presentation, The key words to observe is the word blasphemy. Blasphemy, legal pluralism, because some may not really understand the nitty-gritty of this thing. The word blasphemy refers to speech or writing, actions or conduct that is considered insulting, contemptuous, or irreverent towards God, any deity, sacred person, religious symbol, like the one that you know is Muhammad. And one of the problems of this is that it's a very big issue that is creating a lot of confusion in our codes. The second one is Sharia. I know some of us, we know what Sharia is when it comes to how we always interpret it. But Sharia is the body of Islamic religious law, derived primarily from the Quran, the holy book of Islam, and the Sunnah, the teaching and practices of Prophet Muhammad. I withdraw the word holy. It provides guidance and religious obligation, personal conduct about family matter, commerce, and in some jurisdiction, criminal justice. Then the legal pluralism that we will be seeing as I go along is talking about coexistence of two or more legal systems, which within the same society, and which is one of the major things that is creating a big problem in Nigeria. Because over time, I move ahead, and all of us here, I believe there's nobody here who will not remember that on a Thursday afternoon in March 2022, Deborah Samuel Yakubu, a Christian student in Shehu Shagari College of Education in Sokoto State, was accused by a fellow student of blasphemy the Prophet Muhammad in a WhatsApp group, student WhatsApp group, with a message. And within hours, she had been beaten to death and her body set ablaze by a mob on the college premises. 2 students were arrested. The charges were later dropped. No one was convicted. The Deborah Samuel case did not emerge from a vacuum. It crystallized a pattern of accusation, mob adjudication, and violence that has repeated itself across northern Nigeria for decades. Understanding that pattern requires engaging 3 distinct but interrelated problems: the systemic human rights abuse perpetrated under the cover of blasphemy enforcement, the legal architecture that makes such abuses simultaneously illegal and practically inevitable, and the role of community vigilante network in enforcing religio-moral norms in ways that bypass and often undermine formal legal institutions. Tony Falola's foundational observation that religion in Nigeria is not merely a spiritual matter, but a political and social weapon, captures the stakes accurately. Yet the problem exceeds politics. It is also a theological and ecclesiological problem, one that demands from the church and even seminary not only a prophetic diagnosis, but a constructive response grounded in its own resource for imagined peace, if there will be one at all. So this paper, proceed in 4 stages. Like I've given you the part 1. The part 2 traces the historical and legal background of blasphemy law in northern Nigeria. Part 3 examines human rights abuses in the context of religious extremism. And part 4 analyzes the dynamics of legal pluralism. And part 4, we investigate community vigilantism, just as I've mentioned it. Now, when you look into the historical and legal background of blasphemy in northern Nigeria, you will see that, like I've said, that it is Ogun Ipinle. It's having a colonial foundational issue. For example, British colonial administration in northern Nigeria engaged in calculated ambivalence towards Islamic law. Frederick Lord Lugard, policy of indirect rule, if you can remember, formalized after the amalgamation in 1914, preserved the emirate system and permitted alkali courts to apply Sharia in matters of personal status and commercial disputes, while restricting its application in criminal matters through the native courts, through the native court ordinance. This is what I'm trying to say. Before the colonial master came, the northern people have been exposed to Islam, and their major religion is Islam. When the colonial master came, you understand that they came to exploit our country. And for them to have peace so that they can have their day, they will not touch the people's religion. They introduce indirect rule. Go ahead with your religion, and they operate your Sharia stuff, but with a caveat. When it comes to criminal matters that has to do with death or some major punishment, Sharia was not empowered to be executed to any citizen, even to a Muslim. The effect was to freeze Islamic legal development in northern Nigeria in a particular 19th century configuration, while superimposing a secular criminal code that Muslim community experienced as the Muslim community experienced as an alien imposition. The colonial bifurcation matter, that is Sharia for personal life, secular law for criminal conduct, planted the seed of legal pluralism. So when they made the Sharia, the Islam stopped. They say, okay, practice your law. This is our own rules, so they can coexist. So by the time Nigeria was to be amalgamated, these things were not removed. So Islam still have their way, even when we still have many other legal systems, as you are going to see as I move ahead. The Northern Penal Code of 1960, drafted largely by Sir Thomas Scammy, retained blasphemy and insult to religion as criminal offense, drawing on both English law and Sharia principle. Section 204 of the Penal Code criminalized acts intended to attract religious feelings. The provision survived independence and remains operative today, sitting uneasily alongside 12 northern state Sharia penal code that impose far more severe penalties for the same category of offense. The 1999 Sharia expansion, it's the aftermath of what the colonial master started. The return to civilian rule in 1999 triggered a dramatic escalation in former scope of Sharia criminal law, beginning with Zamfara State in October 1999. 12 northern states, Zamfara, Kano, Sokoto, Katsina, Bauchi, Borno, Gombe, Jigawa, Kebbi, Niger, Yobe, and Kaduna adopted or strengthened Sharia penal codes within 3 years. This cause not only criminalized blasphemy, but prescribed hard punishment. That is, when we say hard punishment, it's not hard as in H-A-R-D, it's H-A-D-D. In Islam, it means when they charge you and you are given what we call hard punishment, it means that it's an Arabic word. Hard literally means limit, boundary, or restriction. In legal terms, it refers to punishment that are clearly defined in the Quran and Hadith. They are considered as the rights of God. So when you are charged, they want to charge you for infringing the rights of God. I wouldn't know when humans are the one fighting for God's rights. And the one thing that is peculiar about this hard is that when you are charged, the punishment cannot be varied by the judge. So when they say it's by death, you must die. It's by amputation, it has to go. So you don't even have any rights. You don't even have. So the international attention attracted by the Aminal Lawal case in 2012 in 2002, in which a woman was sentenced to death by stoning for adultery, obscured the quieter but equally significant expansion of blasphemy enforcement. Philip Austin's comprehensive source book documents dozens of cases in which individuals, overwhelming from minority religion communities or lower socioeconomic strata, were accused of insulting the prophet or desecrating the Quran. One thing you notice is that you hardly see Sharia being used to crush any notable politician, any person that is big in the society. You will see that most of the time it is women that are not protected, poor people who are the downtrodden, and if you go to north up to today, the same people who will tell you, and they will send out their private police to begin to break bottles of beer. They are the same person who are getting the highest quota of income from tax, and they will pretend as if they don't take alcohol, but they put alcohol in agay. You know what agay is? And they drink to stupor, only that they drink in the comfort of their house, and they must not be caught. So it is only when you are caught that you are a criminal, and that is the deception that we have to find a way out of. So it is important to note that Sharia expansion in 1999 to 2000 was not primarily a religious development. It was a political one. Northern Muslim politicians used the prospect of Sharia implementation as a mobilizing strategy in the immediate aftermath of military rule, channeling popular dissatisfaction with economic marginalization and federal neglect into religio-judicial reform. The ordinary population's expectations of moral transformation, reduced corruption, greater social unity, were in most cases deeply disappointed. What we are trying to say is that you will notice that when this thing was really coming up, it was a big fire. It wasn't because of religion. It's just to create a more forceful political front. Now think about it. Why is it that it is only when election is coming that we always have issues of bring back our boys or bring back our girls? Now it's now bring back Ogbomosho kids. You should understand that this is not that this is beyond what the ordinary eyes can see. Human rights abuses in the context of religious extremism. The imposition of death sentence for blasphemy under the Northern Sharia codes places Nigeria in a direct conflict with its obligation under international human rights law. Article 6 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, ICCPR, which Nigeria ratified in 1993, protects the right to life and restricts the death penalty to the most serious crimes, a category which United Nations treaty bodies and special rapporteurs have consistently interpreted to exclude speech-based offenses. So, beyond the death penalty, blasphemy accusations generate a pattern of right violation that really attract former judicial proceedings. Human Rights Watch documents in its 2004 report that persons accused of blasphemy in northern states faced prolonged pre-trial detention, denial of legal representation, and trial before Sharia court whose judges had not received training in international human rights standards. The right to a fair trial guarantees under Section 36 of Nigerian legislative constitution, as was amended, such proceedings a procedural formality rather than a substantive protection. Extrajudicial violence and mob justice. I'm trying to adjust to time. Now, this aspect, you will see that more later than former Sharia prosecution is the phenomenon of extrajudicial mob violence triggered by blasphemy accusation. Amnesty International's 2012 report documented numerous cases in which persons accused of blasphemy were killed before formal charges was filed. The sequence is chillingly consistent, and accusations circulate increasingly through social media. A crowd assembles, and within hours the accused is dead. In many cases, bystanders who attempt to intervene are themselves assaulted. Rhoda Howard, a Simmons analysis of blasphemy cases in northern Nigeria, identify a consistent pattern of what she terms accusatorial cascades. A single complaint often rising from personal or commercial disputes escalate through social network until community honor becomes a collective stake. Not to bore you, this is what is happening. It is not really that the Sharia is empowered to educate on criminal matters, but these are the same set of people who are the one who fight for God. So even before the matter gets to court, the person is mobbed, killed, and unfortunately you will find no one arrested, and even when they are arrested they go scot-free. In fact, it happened in the north. The last one that happened, that you have sons from the north who choose to defend those who mobbed Christians in this same country that is called a secular state. I need to tell you, without fear of contradiction, the thread that puts the girls together is a thread of fraud and nothing more but fraud. And I believe that it's never too late. Somebody is saying, but this is a religious organization. Do we really? And that's another theological issue. Thinking that probably we have to sit down in our gigantic edifices, speaking in tongues, especially we Pentecostal charismatic, who will not get involved in political moves. And sometimes we accuse of the other party of having an agenda. Why are you blaming Islam, Muslim people, for having an agenda when we as a Christian body doesn't have any agenda? It is time for us. And somebody is saying, what is the meaning of this to me? Let me tell you, you are being trained here to go into the field. You don't even know where God is sending you into. Not all of us will minister in America, Japan. If you will listen to God, God can tomorrow send you to Samfara. And this issue we are talking about can be a major thing that can debar you. But God forbid, if God sends, He will sustain. Let me quickly conclude. When you look at blasphemy accusation in northern Nigeria, you will see that, like I've said, most of the time it is the helpless, it is the women, or not yet mature guys that fall victim. But like I've told you, the legal pluralism and religious tension in Nigeria is a fraud of the colonial master. And now that we have now been amalgamated, this is the source of the problem. Now, Nigeria is in a confused state. We are a country that is having multiple legal systems running concurrently. For example, we have Sharia in the north. We have in southern part of this country the English law has received. And we also at the same time have what we call the customary law. And when you put all these things together, there is going to be what you call the conflict of law. And even when you want to approach the court, your problem, even as a lawyer, even many lawyers are running short of this, that they fail on their cases not because they are not good lawyers, but on technicalities. Because the first question is, which court has jurisdiction over this matter? And the moment you approach the wrong court, your case will be stricken out. Then another thing is that which law is applicable over this matter. So when you have a good case, a genuine case, and based on technicalities, you don't know, and who created the confusion? It is not the lawyer, neither is it the judge. It is the foundation that has been laid, and it is boldly written in Nigeria Constitution that Nigeria shall be a secular state, and at no time should anyone agitate or try to promote a religion above the other. But that is only in theory. In Nigeria, it's not in practical. Let me conclude. And there's no other way to this thing. It's creating a lot of constitutional tensions. Constitutional tensions. Even the rights that is openly granted by Constitution is being challenged, because the extremists that has been allowed for too long are having more of political power that is not even derived from the Constitution. And somebody is saying, how does this concern us? I need to move and jump many things. My paper will be given even soft copy on the platform, so you can go ahead and read. The other one that I would just want to mention is the community vigilantism that is happening right now. Formerly, it has been happening in the north. The vigilante groups in northern Nigeria, which occupy a paradoxical position. They are simultaneously illegal under Nigerian law, socially necessary, the view of many communities, and tolerated by state authorities who lack either the will or the capacity to provide adequate public security. The most prominent Islamic vigilante formation in the Sharia era was Ishba in the north. But now, because this problem has become hydra-headed, and it's now moving down even to our very domain, and that's why we're having now what do you call them? Odua, Amotekun, Irueshin, Iruekun. Basically, the truth is that they are alien to our Constitution. And let me tell you, if you participate in most of these things, when issues come up, there is no legal backing. No legal backing that backs them. As far as Nigeria Constitution stands as this morning, there are illegal groups that became necessary because of huge irresponsibility of the government. And we can only trust God that things will get better, and that's why we have all what we have: the jihadists, the Boko Haram, and all their theatrics. And now you can even see now that even the government is confused. It's confused. And what do I really want to close with, just to make sense of my presentation? Theological resources for peace and justice. We are theologians, and this is a theological institution. Paper presentation is not meant just to be presented without anything to take out of it, I believe. The church, when I say church in the northern Nigeria, it's no longer northern Nigeria now. Even in the southern part of the country, the church does not stand outside the crisis, but within it, and we cannot deny it. Because in our very eyes, people are marching to the churches, killing both pastors and members. And now, as one of the affront of the enemy, it is even now impossible in some places to have night vigils. This is a big challenge that should occupy our hearts as theologians and as God's people who are being prepared to be an instrument in the hand of God. We will see, like I've just said now, that the members of the church are among those who killed in blasphemy-related violence. Its voice is regularly silenced, that is, the church, by the same climate of religious intimidation that produces mob killings. Any theological response must begin by taking that position seriously. The church speaks not as a neutral bystander, offering solution from a position of safety, but as a wounded community that is simultaneously called to witness to a different way of being human together. The prophetic tradition of the scripture consistently places the defense of the marginalized and the denunciation of unjust power at the center of faithful witness. Micah instance that the Lord requires justice, mercy, and humble walking. Micah 6:8. And Isaiah rebuke of religion that coexists with violence against the vulnerable. And how do we get out of this thing? The reconciliation and theology of the other. I want to quickly say, because of my time, you see, we can't just sit down and be praying like we are praying, especially we Pentecostal charismatic. We hardly engage the powers that be, and we had, because of privilege, opportunities, and some other things, we hardly speak to power, and it's becoming too late if care is not taken, especially when we are trying to put up the theology of peace at all costs. In this matter, it may not work. It may not work. And one of the things I will say is that though it's almost getting too late, but how many Christian body, either Pentecostal, even CAN, because for me, I'm sorry if I'm a member of CAN or this thing, I just pray God will create revival. They have compromised big time. Only that we just have to have them as our executive. Now, when they are making the laws in the Senate and they are making the public debates, how many times do we have people from our tribe and make objections when they are right? But many times we sit down in our churches, we pray, we speak in tongues big time, and those who have agenda, they've been killing us and they're still killing us. It is time to know that Nigeria is due for restructuring. And somebody is saying, is that not political? We have political prophet. Jeremiah stood in his own time. Ezekiel stood in his own time. And they spoke. And nation was rebirthed. I pray and I believe the time has come that even you don't have PVC. You are following some thugs. Busy on the internet. We will bring you down. You are wasting your time. Somebody is saying, vote don't count in Nigeria. Who tells you? If vote don't count in Nigeria, why are they buying our votes? Vote counts. Engage. Participate. And things shall be put in proper perspective. Thank you.
I think you can do better. That's a really, really engaging lecture. Thank you very much, the legal luminary, Pastor Ben Oyebanji, for shining light into dark areas, expelling and revealing the root causes of all the violences and legal positions, and offering us solutions. Pray that God will continue to bless you. I hope you are jotting down your questions. Back to back, it's going to be this lecture for this first half. And Peace Studies, Faculty of Arts, University of Lagos. And speaking of no one, thank you very much for honoring this invitation. God bless you. Please, you can have your seats. Thank you very much. Yes, values, the clash of religious values, was born and raised in Ekiti State of Nigeria. He had his primary, secondary, and university education at St. Patrick Catholic Primary School, Mary, respectively. He also earned a postgraduate diploma in education, master's degree in education management, in education administration, all from Lagos State University of Nigeria. He is an Android teacher, an Institute School administrator, an educational consultant par excellence with more than 3 decades experience. He is a senior lecturer in the Department of Educational Management, Lagos State University, and Christ Apostolic Church Theological Seminary, Lagos campus, as an adjunct lecturer. He has published books and several educational related articles in national and international journals, and also presented papers at seminars and conferences. This man from Ekiti is fondly referred as Vance Shakin. He is a member of many national bodies beyond academics.